Hello and welcome to Penalty on the Podcaster. I just want to talk, where I talk about NFL related things that are of interest to me. This episode, it's the second of two episodes today. Jalen Hurts just reset the quarterback market. I actually might do a third today or tomorrow. It will be about Tua Tagovailoa. But right now, Jalen Hurts just reset the quarterback market with a 5-year, and the Eagles, 5 years, $255 million extension. That's $51 million per year if you don't want to do the math. It's a lot. It just so happens to be the most money per year anyone has ever gotten in the NFL. And he deserves it. He deserves it so much. He is the best quarterback in the NFC. No doubt about it. I don't care, about Brock Purdy. He's good, but he's not as good as Jalen Hurts. I think Jalen Hurts deserves MVP, and he also outplayed Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl, but only lost because it was poorly officiated. The only two losses the Eagles had when Jalen Hurts was healthy were poorly officiated against the Commanders and against the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, which, honestly, that was a horribly officiated game, and in the Super Bowl, no less. But he really deserves the money, outplaying Patrick Mahomes, and, he will probably dominate the conference for a while. But this is not really what I'm talking about. I'm not here to talk about Jalen Hurts. I'm here to talk about Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, Tua Tagovailoa, Lamar Jackson, and the 2021 QB draft class, who are going to have imminent extensions coming up. With Lamar Jackson, another thing about the Eagles, though, I think this will be a steal because if Jackson and Burrow and Herbert had gotten their contracts, Hurts would have wanted a much bigger contract. So I think this will look like a bargain in the long run, also with Jalen Hurts being a great quarterback. But with Lamar Jackson, the Ravens were already dissatisfied with his demands and not wanting to pay him. And he was referencing Deshaun Watson and wanting to be paid a huge contract, sort of like that. Well, now he can look at the Eagles quarterback, Jalen Hurts, I forgot his name for a second there, and be like, oh yeah, I want a contract more like his, actually, and have increased demands. So the problem is here, the Ravens are going to have to either face the music and pay the man, or just let him walk. And they should have paid him earlier, maybe held off on paying Roquan Smith $20 million. Because now their franchise's best player, their quarterback, their star player, is at huge risk of not being able to meet his demands. The Ravens might lose him, actually, and in doing so, they make their franchise worse. Their quarterback isn't as good. Tyler Huntley is amazing, or decent, but he's not Lamar Jackson, and they risk alienating a huge part of the fan base who is there for Lamar Jackson. So they really should pay him, and they should have thought of this before paying Roquan Smith, and now they're in so much more trouble with having to cope with this inflated quarterback market made by Jalen Hurts' huge extension. And if Lamar Jackson gets paid by the Ravens, he'll probably be in the top 3 or 4 of the the highest paid players in the National Football League, because that's the kind of demands he's going to make. But also, Joe Burrow is entering his last season under contract. Justin Herbert same thing. Last season under contract. And Tua Tagovailoa, last season under contract. These guys are going to need huge extensions. The Bengals should have probably figured one out with Joe Burrow after the 2021 season. But they didn't. And now they're in some trouble, financial trouble. And they're going to have to pay him a huge contract. And then Justin Herbert had a better start to his career than Dan Marino. He's going to need a huge contract. He's just going to need a monster of a contract. This is his last season under contract. Of course, and Tagovailoa will also need a large contract to remain with the Dolphins. But when I say last season under contract, because these are all first rounders, the teams can exercise their 5th year option. So, which they will likely pick up to avoid having to pay them huge amounts of money, at least for another year. But those contract extensions are coming up. And then the 2021 class. Trevor Lawrence will likely want a large contract if he follows up his 2022 performance with a similar performance in 2023. He's got 2 more years under contract, but 3 if they exercise the 5th year option. However, it might be a good idea to get quarterback deals done sooner rather than later for the top tier talent. Not Zach Wilson, but I'll get to him in a minute. But because when the 2020 class gets their extensions and Lamar Jackson's gonna get paid someday because every team wants him, he's a hot commodity. The teams will have to pay out more if they delay their quarterback contracts. Because that's the way that the market is going. It's going upwards, so if you delay the contract, they'll end up having to pay more in the future. So Zach Wilson will likely want a large contract, and then the Jets will probably realize he's not worth anything, not pick up his 5th year option, and just say no and let him walk. He is terrible. He's at least Taylor Heineke's got leadership skills and stuff like that. Oh, also he is a wizard, but Zach Wilson has just played poorly and not taken any responsibility for it. He did not act like a quarterback or a locker room leader. He should go. The Jets shouldn't have him. He's sort of not he will likely want a large contract, but the Jets, if they're smart, won't give it to him. Trey Lance might want a large contract, but he will likely be Purdy's backup and get a small contract, a backup contract, or be traded and then get a large starter contract. That is a little more feasible because he was the 3rd overall pick, so he's going to be a little more valuable. He hasn't played a lot, so the mystique around him. I did make an episode on him being overrated. I think he is way overrated, and the mystique of how does he play because he's been injured or just not a starter or being benched. You should check that out. It's kind of an old episode. It's called Trey Lance is Overrated, of course. But you should really listen to it after this. And, and then all the quarterbacks are going to want large extensions. But the Ravens, I think, are the most affected with them already being in contract talks with Lamar Jackson and those not going too well. Last thing they need is someone to get a huge contract that Lamar Jackson can aspire to. And the Ravens might have to let Lamar Jackson walk. Of course, letting Of course, paying Roquan Smith probably should not have come before Lamar Jackson, and I'm probably a little hasty in making this episode, but I really want to be on top of this the day it comes out. But, be thankful you did not wake up as the Ravens general manager and you look at the news and, oh no, Jalen Hurts just got a record-setting contract. Oh, you're going to have to pay Lamar a ton now. This is going to be so much harder than you thought. So, yeah, be thankful you are not the Ravens GM. If you're a Ravens fan, sorry in advance, I guess, because the Ravens might have to let Lamar Jackson walk because he's going to want something unreasonable. He was, latching on to Deshaun Watson's contract and being like, I want one like that. Now he is going to probably look at Jalen Hurts' contract and be like, I want that one instead. And I don't think the Ravens will be able to meet those demands with Lamar Jackson wanting that contract. He will likely want to be paid in the top 3 or 4. And I don't think that's something the Ravens can provide, especially with them having to retain a lot of talent, paying Roquan Smith a ton of money. And of course, they have a ton of talent. They signed OBJ. I did not look up his contract yet, but I think it's a lot. I'm pretty sure it's a lot if OBJ signed it. But the Ravens might have to let Lamar Jackson go. I really hope I think it would be best for them if they found a way to pay him and still be under the cap because he's just so important. He pulls their whole franchise together. Unfortunately, he's had, 2 or 3 straight seasons ended by injury? Did he have an injury-ended season in 2020? Yes, I think he did. He had 2 or 3 straight season-ending injuries, which is not what you want from such a mobile dual-threat QB. So maybe they don't pay him. Maybe some other team scoops him up. If he leaves the Ravens, some other team will undoubtedly want to pick him up. Like a team that doesn't really have a quarterback because he is really good at the dual threat stuff, but the injuries, especially to the knee, have been really brutal to Lamar Jackson. So maybe they don't pay him because of this. But I think they'll have to because he pulls their franchise together. And we've seen Tyler Huntley end seasons. How would he do if he began seasons? He is clearly an inferior quarterback to Lamar Jackson. You could see in the losses to the Bengals and the 2 losses to the Bengals, and I think they had a loss to the Steelers where that was sort of Tyler Huntley's fault. And I think they would have won the AFC North, if Lamar Jackson had just stayed healthy. But he didn't, and now the Ravens might not end up paying him because of it. But that doesn't take away from his demands because Jalen Hurts' contract will likely define the quarterback market for the next few years until it's time for if Brock Purdy ends up being incredible, his contract might reset or define the market. Also, Bailey Zappi, that might throw a wrench into Mac Jones' contract plans because, like, there's an aspect of, like, there might be an aspect of, sure, we can pay you, but we got Bailey Zappi under contract, and he sort of might have played better than you. So that is one thing. Maybe Mac Jones comes back with a great season, and we never hear from Bailey Zappi again outside of him being a backup. I hope not. I kind of like him. I think he's a pretty good quarterback, even if he does have play clock management issues that the refs don't pick up on for now. But I like him as a player, so I hope he does well. But he might throw a wrench into Mac Jones' contract plans, and if he ends up getting the starting role and playing very well, he might have a huge contract with the Patriots that might throw them into jeopardy. But right now, the teams with the quarterbacks on contracts that will expire in the next year or two, like the 2020 draft class, even with their fifth-year options, like, that's going to be huge. When Lamar Jackson gets his contract, I'm sure someone will pay him eventually. When Lamar Jackson gets his contract, I think the market will go even farther. And when Justin Herbert and Joe Burrow get their contracts, I think the market will be really out of control. And I think the NFL might need to raise the salary cap. But I think Jalen Hurts' contract defines the market and for the next few years. And then quarterbacks for the next few years will look at that and get contracts like his and, like, progress the market until there's, like, some huge superstar whose contract is expiring and they'll have to pay him a ton of money and redefine the market for the next few years. Aren't the Chiefs happy they signed Patrick Mahomes years ago? Because he's got, like, 7 years or something left on his enormous contract, and $45 million a year is bad enough. But a $51 million per year contract is worse. But the thing about Jalen Hurts' contract is it's not like Patrick Mahomes. It's not 10 years. Like, he won't be under contract with him basically till the end of his prime. Well, maybe. It might turn out like that. But he's only got 5 years on his contract, which, like, it's a lot, but it opens the door for, in 5 years, another team picking him up. I think he will continue to impress, maybe even win a Super Bowl in those 5 years. I think he will win a Super Bowl in those 5 years. And then he'll get re-signed to something huge by the Eagles again, because I think he's just a guy you don't let go. And I would say that aside from injuries, Lamar Jackson is one of those guys that you just don't let go. But he has been injured, and, like, are you really going to pay this guy who gets injured so much with not, like, just small stuff that you come back from? I mean, Jalen Hurts had a shoulder injury, but, like, bad injuries, ACL, like, knee stuff, which can end a season, like, with a good amount of games left. So maybe that's why they don't want to pay him. But other than that, he's a guy you don't want to let go. But the Ravens will be in trouble when they try to re-sign him. But maybe they can make something work and just be like, okay, I guess we have to pay him now. And then just pay him. That would be good for the Ravens if he can play and not get injured. But and then when the 2021 class of quarterbacks, guys like Trevor Lawrence get to the point where they have to have their contracts redone, it would be really bad for the other teams or for the Jaguars, for the teams with the 2021 quarterbacks to get contracts for them because aside from Jalen Hurts' thing, the other 2020 class contracts and the Lamar Jackson contract will probably further the market, and so teams will likely have to stretch to pay their guys they got in 2021. Maybe even Davis Mills could get a big contract or something. But if he turns out to be a good quarterback, although he doesn't really seem like it, he probably can be worked with. And like the teams with veteran quarterbacks are probably like who are under contract and who will be under contract for a while, like Patrick Mahomes. They are probably so thankful that they got their guys under contract. Except for the Broncos, because that was just a horrible idea, and I heard he got a bonus. If you would like to hear about that, that was, I think, the first I Just Want to Talk episode for Penalty on the Podcaster. It's called My Thoughts on the Broncos Russell Wilson situation, or something like that. I apologize for any background noise. I'm just recording this in my room, but in a house full of people. But yeah, the Broncos are not happy that they got their guy under contract, because that's looking like a terrible idea. And Daniel Jones, I don't think that was a good idea. But yeah, this will put a great strain on GMs. Oh yeah, like Jordan Love will one way or another, trade or retirement, become the starter unless something goes wrong for him. It would be better for the Packers if they didn't keep Jordan Love. He might want a big contract. Justin Fields, now that's a guy who deserves and will likely ask for a large contract extension when the time comes. But I'm trying to think, like, what teams have, like, big name quarterbacks who are getting to the end of their rookie contracts. I think I've gone through the whole NFL and haven't thought of another one. But, yeah. General managers will be under great pressure to be able to keep their quarterbacks. And Jalen Hurts and the Eagles are the root cause of this, with this huge extension, which he undoubtedly deserves. So, I mean, that's really all I have. That's it. I forgot to give a few messages at the start of the episode, and so I guess no start of the episode messages. This is an unsponsored podcast. If you would like to sponsor this podcast, my email's in the description. If you would like to contact me for whatever reason, my email's in the description. This podcast is available on YouTube, Spotify, RSS.com, and Google Podcasts. If you would like to check out any of the other platforms or the show on any of the other platforms, the links will be in the description. RSS.com is recommended because you can view the transcripts there. If you're on YouTube, please make sure to like and subscribe. Helps the channel grow. Costs nothing. Takes about a second. You can always change your mind and undo that. Make sure to ding that bell if you're on YouTube, or follow, or whatever on whatever platform you're listening to never miss an episode. I hope you've enjoyed this installment of Penalty on the Podcaster. I Just Want to Talk. You'll hear more of me next episode.